Hello, I'm Paul McEwen, the founder of this website, and I'm talking to a Christian brother, Tony Hempenstall, who runs spiritual retreats and is involved with people in their spiritual search. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Paul.
It's been my experience that many people in their 50s and 60s are re-examining their spiritual beliefs and probably looking more seriously at the whole question than they have for probably the majority of their life. Some are religious, some are not. If we could start by asking you, what do you see as the difference between religion and spirituality?
Okay. My understanding of religion is that it is the human response framework, is how I'd put it, to the whole mystery of life. That as human beings have tried to grapple with death and suffering and change of life, they have designed frameworks around which to understand that, which includes having a God, whether that be through the Christian God or some other kind of God, or through some kind of philosophy like Buddhism, or then Islam, who look to the Prophet Muhammad. So that's religion. Religion is a human construct. It's a framework of worship. Normally it contains some kind of worship, a prayer base. It often contains laws and moral kind of, what would you call it, moral rules for people in religion. And our spirituality, though, is, and it does have values to it, of course, religion also. My understanding of spirituality really comes from the inner human being who is looking for value, is trying to get a meaning system in the world through what they value and what gives them personal meaning. Now, the two of them can come together, religion and spirituality, obviously. Every religion normally has a spirituality attached to it. But you don't have to be religious to have a spirituality. In fact, I believe every human being is spiritual, has some sense of the spiritual, of meaning, of value in their life. That's how I would put it anyway. So.
Okay. If people are currently searching for a belief system, whether it be organised religion or some other form, would you have some suggestions as to where they should go, where they should start? Any thoughts?
I think your introduction about people in midlife and so on, in the first half of life, Carl Jung says that we are really born to be materialists. So in the first half of life, say up to about 50 these days, we tend to build our lives on a whole lot of values around society and education and wealth. This is talking first world, of course, where people are trying to raise a family, build a home, make a living, do all those kind of things, and a lot of people's values are around that. When they reach the 50s or the 60s, I do believe a lot of that drops away. A lot of that becomes meaningless in one sense. I had a woman speaking to me the other day who said, I've got a beautiful daughter, I've got a wonderful husband, I've got a magnificent career, and we've got our home, but it's all empty. And she's really searching for something to fill the emptiness. She thought that all these things would give her meaning. The other thing Carl Jung said then was that in the second half of life we really need to become mystics, whatever that means, but it's something about plumbing the depths of the mystery of life beyond the material things that make us comfortable. So I think the first thing I would suggest with people who are searching, whether it's through a religious framework or not, whether it's through their own deep spiritual yearning, they need to give time to the search, is the first thing I'd say. So they need to do some very serious reading for themselves, deep reflection for themselves, which would include things like periods of meditation. Some people love to journal, to write, like their inner thoughts. You need time to sit away from all the busyness of life and all those things that crowd in our daily routine to really begin to go on the inner journey. So that's my first thing. You've got to go on the inner journey. And if you don't give time to that, again, to quote Carl Jung, he says, we will become very sick in the second half of life. Not so much physically, though it can have a physical effect, but it's spiritual sickness he talks about. It's, this whole thing about a midlife crisis, whatever you call it, midlife transition. There is a crisis, but it's a spiritual crisis. It's nothing to do with anything else but my meaning system. It all starts to reframe itself. We've got to restructure. So the first thing is, I think you need to give time to it. You need to go either away on little retreats or have days of reflection, or at least have an hour every now and again where you're going to do some serious inner work.
Would you suggest a couple of books that people should start with?
There's a very good book by, I think her name is Susan Monk Kidd, correct? When the Heart Waits. Susan Monk Kidd is her name. When the Heart Waits is a very good one of her. She uses the image of the cocoon, of going into this cocoon like the caterpillar does, enters the cocoon and spends a period of time there, and the butterflies form. She uses that wonderful image. And so she's got a great book to read, because it is a time when we go into a cocoon. The other books, there's a number of books by an Anne Brennan and a Janice Brewy, who are two American nuns, actually, who've done their doctorates on this whole spirituality, and they've got books called The Spirituality of Midlife. I've got a whole pile of books on that kind of area, but I just can't bring them to mind at the moment. But there are you'll find on the website today, there's a lot being written on midlife. They call it the midlife transition or midlife crisis, or second half of life spirituality. And if you go onto the web, into the internet, Google that, there's oodles being written by that, and some really good books on that now, for men and women.
All right, well, thank you for your words of wisdom, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.